clicker. Do they have a clicker? Okay, perfect. Oh, this way? Forward and backwards. Got it. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. If you can give me 5, and then let me know. Okay. Oh, they can. They can send it to. I don't know if the address was on there. Or not.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's seminar. We are very grateful that you were able to join us, whether it is in person or online. Before we start, I would like to begin, if this is your first time watching us, a little bit about our church and our ministry here and what we do. So the Elmhurst SDA Community Lifestyle Center, our main goal is to nurture the physical, the mental, and the spiritual needs of our community. And so we do that by hosting cooking classes, disease prevention seminars, and offer fellowship as well. And so we want you to know that we are here, and we are here to serve you and hopefully be a resource, a good resource for support whenever you need it. Now, a little bit about tonight's speaker. Walt Cross is going to be presenting a very interesting lecture, and he actually lives in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, so he flew all the way from there to present tonight. And he and his family serve their community with a small ministry called the Mustard Seed. And through their health food store, they are able to provide a lifestyle education and lectures in the local public school system, businesses, churches, and on a one-on-one basis. Walt's formal education was in conventional healthcare administration, and for the majority of his career, he worked in that field. However, in the year 2000, Walt accepted an offer to work as the director of an international lifestyle center, where the method of addressing health concerns took a much more proactive approach in looking for root causes. And so he found this proactive approach in addressing health concerns to be much more effective in addressing chronic diseases. And since then, he's been traveling all across the United States and all across the world presenting his lectures. And so before we proceed and I introduce you to Walt Cross, I would just like Pastor John to come up here for the word of prayer.
Thank you, Anna. Before I pray, I just wanted to let you know about something. Since all these seminars that we are doing for free, and including this one, for the traveling expenses and certain things, we as a church, we are covering this. But I'm concerned about one thing. Walt Cross is traveling all over the world. He's doing this ministry and reaching many people and helping many people. At the end of presentation, if you're moved to help for the ministry, you can write a check either directly to Walt Cross or to Mustard Seed Ministry, or you can just put cash in that little church that is back there. Or those of you who are online, we are going to let you know tomorrow how you can send to Walt Cross and donate for the ministry that they can continue. Let us pray now. Dear Heavenly Father, we are here by your mercy and by your grace. Every breath that we breathe, all that we are, it is of you. It is a gift from you. You wonderfully created us. And Lord, I just pray and I'm praising your name for that. There are so many obstacles in the world that we are living, sinful world. But I know also one thing, that Jesus Christ, he came to redeem the spirit, soul, and the body. And I pray, Lord, as he redeemed that we would, as we allow you to live in us, that you would do what is proper with our bodies, with our soul, and with our spirit. I pray, Lord, also that those who are watching and those who are present here, that they would be moved and by your strength would be able to make some changes in their lifestyle so that in healthy body, we can truly worship you. Thank you. In the name of Christ, amen.
Thank you, Pastor John. I would like to encourage you to stay tuned after the presentation. We will have a Q&A session. So anybody present here will be able to ask our speaker questions, or those present online, you can ask your questions through the Zoom link. So without further ado, Walt Cross, please.
Good evening, y'all. Over the last 20 years, I've had an opportunity to come to Chicago many times, but it's only been in the airport. I fly through here a lot, but never have I had an opportunity to come and speak to the folks here in Chicago, and I appreciate that opportunity. Excuse my clothes. I made it to Charlotte in time to get on my airplane to come to Chicago, but my clothes didn't make it in time, so hopefully they'll be here tomorrow. This evening, I'd like to share with y'all about the immune system. And, you know, right now, many of us are well educated on the immune system because we're trying to keep ourselves healthy. The immune system's huge. It's really important. And as we look at as we take care of our bodies, yes, we take care of it in different ways. We brush our teeth and we brush our hair and we take a shower. But the immune system is huge. If you take care of the immune system, then the body will take care of you. But if you don't take care of the immune system, many times we have many diseases. And so let's share tonight and look at the immune system. See if I have this right here. Okay, what is the immune system? The immune system distinguishes self from non-self and eliminates potentially harmful non-self molecules and cells from the body. The immune system also has the capacity to recognize and destroy abnormal cells that derive from host tissues. Any molecule capable of being recognized by the immune system is considered an antigen. The skin, cornea, mucosa of the respiratory, gastrointestinal, genital, urinary tracts from the physical barrier, form a physical barrier that the body's first line of defense. So we have a first line of defense, which is our skin, our gastrointestinal system, our urinary tract, set up a barrier that protects us. Some of these barriers also have active immune functions. So let's look at some of the immune system diseases. And tonight is not conclusive. We're going to talk about a lot of things that can help our immune system, but it is no way conclusive. It's really cool. As I go around different places, it might be in East Tennessee, it might be in California, it might be in Africa, it might be in Brazil, Venezuela, wherever I go, God has special nutrients in those locations. It was interesting. I was in Africa last year, and I got an opportunity to go out and see some lions and giraffes and elephants. And as we were there, the ranger said, "Don't get in the grass." He said, "If you get in the grass, we have black mambas. And that black mamba, if it bites you, you won't have enough time to get to the hospital before you die. They're very poisonous." And I thought, you know, these folks are similar to our native folks here in America who know the herbs. And I asked the ranger, I said, "Do you have men here who know how to gather herbs and to have an antidote?" The ranger that told me not to get out in the grass. And he smiled and he said, "Yes." He said, "Our men, the fathers of the community, they know how to go and quickly gather different herbs and give that to the person, and they live." And God has given us different foods, different herbs, different things to address us, wherever we are in the world. So what we're going to talk about tonight is in no way conclusive, even for our local area. But just to give us some ideas, for we don't have the time to address a lot. So let's look. Allergies and asthma, some of the immune system diseases, allergies and asthmas, immune deficiency diseases such as HIV and AIDS, drug-induced immune deficiencies, autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and the list is huge. But what happens is the immune system is involved in these, and these are diseases involving the immune system. Type 1 diabetes, autoimmune diseases, or autoimmune disease. So number one, let's look at precautions by the World Health Organization as of March of this year, as the world started dealing with COVID. What did WHO say that we need to do to protect ourselves? Number one, wash your hands regularly. And that's something that's so important. I used to tell my staff, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. When they came to work, they washed their hands. Before they took care of a patient, they washed their hands. After the patient, they washed their hands. Before they ate, they washed their hands. After they ate, they washed their hands. Before they went to the bathroom, they washed their hands. After they went to the bathroom, they washed their hands. Before they smoked, after they smoked. We had a huge list that we expected our staff to wash their hands. And washing your hands is probably one of the major items you can do to protect your immune system. Now, what's interesting is folks say, well, soap or water, or what about an alcohol, Rob? It depends on the pathogen. Some pathogens are killed better with soap and water. Some pathogens are killed better with alcohol. So what's the best thing? Just use them both if you have a question. But one of the keys is if you have a pathogen on here and you put a quaternary on here, many folks will wipe it off real quick. They spray the quaternary on or put the quaternary on, and then they dry it. It takes a while for that quaternary to go in there and eat up that pathogen, to kill the pathogen. The same thing's true as we wash our hands. You want to wash your hands long enough. Now, they tell us 20 seconds. Some people say, sing Mary Had a Little Lamb twice. But you want to wash it long enough that it's going to be able to kill that pathogen. Practice respiratory hygiene. Cover your nose, your mouth when coughing. Now, a lot of folks, we used to cough. Well, what did we used to do? I'll ask this gentleman right here. What did men used to use if a person coughed? A hanky. And then if little Johnny had a little snotty nose, he'd go over and rub Johnny's nose. And if his wife was crying, she'd take his hanky and wipe her tears. And what were we doing? We were spreading those pathogens. And so we've kind of gotten rid of the handkerchiefs. And so now we use Kleenexes and we throw them away. But what if we have our hand? Well, cough. Well, cover your mouth. We used to cough like this. Well, you don't want to cover with a hand, right? Or even with your elbow. Why? Because we bump elbows now. So you want to kind of cough into your shoulder. Here, cover your nose, your mouth when coughing with something that's you're not going to touch other people with. Throw the tissues into a closed bin. Don't just keep reusing it because you allow that pathogen to keep going. Get rid of that pathogen. Wash your hands again. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Maintain social distancing, especially if coughing and or fever, at least 2 meters or 6 feet. Well, I must tell you, I changed this one. WHO, as of March, only said 1 meter, 3 feet. But that's extended to 2 meters, 6 feet. So I have changed that one. Avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. And here's the problem. When we have a mask on, wear a mask, and we're constantly pulling it up and rubbing. As we breathe into that mask, we're breathing germs into it. And those germs are all over the inside of the mask and all over our face. And so as our mask comes down, as it gets loose and we pull it up and we touch our face, we're getting it on our hands. And so we have to be careful touching our hands, touching our face, touching our eyes, our mouth. We have to be careful there. Mask and personal protective equipment. Now, this is what they said in March. If you're sick, when you're caring for someone who's sick in a healthcare setting, if you're unwell, stay at home. If you have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, seek early medical attention. Number 2, Major immune system killers. So as we look at health issues, it's so important that we remove the cause. When I worked in regular health care, we masked and we managed. We gave drugs. We didn't get rid of the problem. If a person had diabetes, the care plan was diabetic management through a pharmaceutical. And then I found out we can reverse type 2 diabetes. I mean, we have over a 98% reversal of type 2 diabetes. Diabetes is easy to reverse, type 2 that is. And so, oh, I touched my nose. And so you want to figure out what the physiology is in order to correct the problem. An example, if I have a rasp, who knows what a rasp is? It's an aggressive file. And I have that rasp and I'm rubbing my arm. What's going to happen? It's going to eat the skin away. And you come up and you say, oh, honey, let me put some medicine on there. I'm talking Southern here. And so you put some medicine on there, and when you leave, I go to rubbing it again. And then you go and you say, oh, you come up again another day and let me put some more medicine on it. And you put the medicine on it, and I go to rubbing it again. Is it going to heal? Not until what? Until I remove the cause, until I stop using the rasp. And so we've got to figure out what is the root cause as we deal with health issues. If we can figure out the root cause, the physiology, then many times we can stop the cause. See, the cure is in the cause. We can stop the cause, and then the person gets better. It's really cool. And so as we look here, what are some physiology issues? Now, what if we had a car here? What would you say the problem is there? Maybe they're in Chicago. I don't know. There's a lot of salt on the road. As we look at our cars, do we have to get to the root cause of the problem? Let's say that, okay, your wife comes in and she says, honey, my car's pulling to the right. And you notice that the front tire is wearing out. The tire is wearing out. And so what do? You take it down to old Billy Bob and he puts a new set of tires on. Well, after about 10,000 miles, you notice the front tire's wearing out again. Billy Bob goes, no problem, I got tires. And you just go back on to Billy Bob and you keep going every 10,000 miles. What are you doing? You're masking and managing. What's the root problem? The car's out of alignment. And yes, we may have to put a new set of tires, but also the car is out of alignment and we have to fix the alignment. And the same thing is true as we deal with health issues. So what do? As we look at major immune system killers, number one is sugar. Sugar's huge. If I took a 12-ounce soft drink, now I meant to go get one, but I didn't make it here in time. If you get a 12-ounce soft drink, what do people drink here? Pardon? What kind of soft drink's popular here? Where I'm from, it's Mountain Dew, or Pepsi, or Coca-Cola, but usually Mountain Dew. What's the soft drink of choice in this area? Coca-Cola. Okay. So you got a 12-ounce soft drink, a Coca-Cola, and that 12-ounce Coca-Cola is going to wipe out your immune system 50% for the next 4 hours. It's going to wipe out your immune system 50% for the next 4 hours. What it does is it anesthetizes the white cells. Now, if you take that Coca-Cola and you add a Snickers bar that's only about this long. Now, I'm not talking about the Snickers bars today. I'm talking when we were kids, the ones about this long. You add that Snickers bar to it and that 12-ounce Coca-Cola, now your immune system, let's see, we've got, let's say you had 14 people here. And 14 people stood up, and I said, everybody sit down but one person. That's how much of your immune system is going to work for the next 4 hours. It anesthetizes 13 out of 14 on average white cells for the next 4 hours. That's huge. That's huge. Well, what about, do people like milkshakes here? People drink milkshakes? Okay, a milkshake, what about cheesecake? Okay, a cheesecake, an average sized cheesecake or a regular milkshake will wipe out your immune system 92 to 93% for the next 4 hours. That's huge. And you have people who are just drinking soft drinks all day long. I had a bookkeeper one time, and she would come in each morning with a 6-pack of Dr. Peppers, and by 10 o'clock they were all gone. And then she'd start hitting the drink machine. And I told her one day, I said, Kathy, I just need to get an IV and hang a 2-liter bottle and run you on an IV. People are just drinking a lot of sugar, eating a lot of sugar. Do y'all have sweet tea? Who's ever lived in the South? Anybody lived in the South? Nobody. Do y'all know what sweet tea is? Sweet tea? Okay, sweet tea, a gallon of sweet tea has on average 2 cups of sugar. And it's not a problem for a person to wipe out 1 gallon of sweet tea a day. So you see how much sugar folks are taking in. And I had a guy come in just recently to see me. He had some health issues. And as I was going through his history, I asked him, I said, how much water do you drink? And so many people say, I just don't do water. Why don't you drink water? Well, I don't like the taste of it. What do you drink? Oh, I drink soft drink. Well, this guy was drinking 3 liters of soft drink every day. And I said, do you think you can cut back? He goes, well, I might be able to cut back maybe to just 1 liter. Well, that's better than 3, but sugar's huge on wiping out the immune system. And especially as we look at this time of the year, as we look at Halloween, we look at Thanksgiving, and then all December, folks are eating, cookies, pies, and cakes, and whatever, until Christmas. And then there's New Year's. And we wonder why we get sick after the first of the year. It's because we just killed our immune system with so much sugar. The next one is sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is huge. We used to think sleep deprivation was less than 6 hours. Now Harvard has told us that no, it's less than 7 hours. But now the way I'm reading Harvard, they're flirting with 8 hours. And we know from the Breslov-Belloc study, it was Alameda County, California, which was of 6,900 people over a 15-year period. They found that people lived the longest if they slept between 8 hours and 9 hours. If you slept less than or more than 9 hours, you died quicker. But sleep has a huge impact on the immune system. Have you ever been up late at night and you get sick then the next day? That's my biggest problem. I'm also a fire chief. And actually, just as I was getting ready to leave the motel tonight, we had a structure fire. And let's say I'm out, it's at night, the structure fire comes out 1 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at night, and I'm out fighting that fire, overhauling that fire all night long. The temperatures in the single digits, double digits, teens, 20s. Is my immune system going to dump? And that's my biggest problem. Because I'm out there losing my sleep, it dumps my immune system. Or it might be a wreck or whatever I'm out on those calls. But sleep deprivation is huge on wiping out the immune system. Well, what happens is proper sleep. Harvard tells us what we need is the 8 hours to 9 hours sleep. What they have found is when you have adequate sleep, it improves the immune system. But when you don't have enough sleep, it takes down the immune system. So it's a two-edged sword. It helps or it hurts. And the other one that's a major item is stress. Anybody have stress? Stress is the #1 diagnosis in America today. Soon, according to WHO, to be overran by depression. Depression soon will be our #1 diagnosis in the United States, according to WHO, the World Health Organization. But right now, it's stress. Stress just wipes out a lot of things. Wipes out your vitamin C. Wipes out your B vitamins. It wipes out just your zinc, your magnesium. It wipes out a lot of stuff. And a lot of them have to do with the immune system, like vitamin E. Stress, 1 minute of major stress or anger will wipe out your immune system, according to research, 6 hours. See, 1 minute of stress is worse than a 12-ounce Coca-Cola. it's worse than a 12-ounce Coca-Cola and a Snickers bar, because the sugar wipes it out for how long? 4 hours. Stress wipes it out for 6 hours. Now research is telling us that actually the one above it, sleep deprivation, wipes out your immune system equal to what stress wipes out your immune system. So it's huge. So be proactive. Look at the things that you can take a proactive approach on and prevent the problem. See, you can take all the echinacea and golden seal and Alimed and colloidal silver, or whatever you're taking, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D, whatever. But if you don't do these, it's like knocking the legs out from under the chair. And the other guys just don't work. And people go, well, I was taking, what, elderberry or Alimed or whatever. And I'll ask them, did you get your sleep? Were you stressed? Did you eat any sugar for the holidays? Yes. You undid all that money you just spent, and that time of trying to build your immune system, you can take it out by these 3 S's. I call them the big 3. Anybody here like cars? Anybody like cars? This fella, he's one of my customers, comes to see me for health issues. He bought this car 2 years ago, but it wasn't fast enough for him. Stock was 700 and some horsepower, but he had him tweak it before he got it from the factory, and it was 800 and some horsepower. The first tank of gas registered only 2 point some miles to the gallon. And it wasn't even running at full ability because the computer doesn't allow the engine to fully run until 500 miles to break it in. It had a 3/4 inch gas line, and it had, like I said, 800 and some horsepower. Who knows who's in Level Cross, North Carolina? Anybody? This man right here, Mr. Petty. So this man sends his car to Mr. Petty, Richard Petty. And Mr. Petty cranked that car up from 800 and some horsepower to 1,500 horsepower, 1,500 horsepower. He took out first gear because it just squalled its tires. He said, you no longer can drive this car in the rain. He said, when you park the car, you can't park it with the tires turned. Either go forward or backwards, or you'll do a victory spin. It just has so much power. But then Mr. Petty told him, you can no longer buy gas at the gas station. You have to buy racing fuel, 115% octane. He had a special car. He had to take care of that car in a special way. He actually, Mr. Petty signed the roof of it. I was trying to get an owner's manual to a Bugatti or to the Phantom Rolls Royce, but I couldn't get it. Well, I could have got one of them, but it was $300 on the internet. The other one I couldn't get. So I thought, well, let me look at this Cabriolet and see what does the owner's manual say about taking care of this car. Well, here's what it says. Note, damage caused by wrong fuel. Even small amounts of wrong fuel could result in damage to the fuel system, the engine, and the emission control system. Never refuel using diesel, more than 10% ethanol, more than 3% methanol, gasoline with additives containing metal. If you accidentally refuel with the wrong fuel, don't switch the engine on. Just call us, Mercedes, and we'll come and tow it back to the store. We'll get all of the fuel out, and we'll put the right fuel in it. It says even small amounts of the wrong fuel could result in damage to the fuel system and the engine. The repair costs are high. We have, all my fire trucks are diesel except one, and that one is a gasoline. I want to get rid of it. Why? Because I don't want my guys to make the mistake. I remember back when I first became a firefighter back in the early 80s, one of the guys, they came back late one night from a fire in Chattanooga, and they put the wrong fuel in the truck. Both fuel tanks. They had a fuel tank for gasoline, and they had a fuel tank for diesel. And when these guys came back from a fire, the driver was really tired, and he just stuck the wrong fuel in it. What will that do to an engine? It will ruin it. Fortunately, he caught himself before he turned it back on, and it was out of service. Maintenance guy had to come, pump all the fuel out, clean it up, and then put the right fuel. But what else does the manual say? Warning, risk of accident from damaged tires. Damaged tires can cause tire pressure loss. Risk of aquaplaning due to insufficient tread. Risk of accident due to insufficient tire pressure. Risk of accident from excessive tire pressure. If you don't take care of your car right, is it going to have problems? Yes? Well, what about our bodies? You can talk this highfalutin car with 1,500 horsepower. You can talk a Bugatti. You can talk, the Rolls Royce. But what's more important? A car or the human body? Our human body. So we got a checklist. What do we do? So how do we build or optimize our immune system? The first thing is proper fuel. People, as we change affluently, we begin to have an affluent diet. Where I'm from in Tennessee, Tennessee was the 4th healthiest state in 1969. In 2009, it was the 4th unhealthiest state. Why? Why did that change from the 4th healthiest state to the 4th unhealthiest state? Well, Nashville took a look to see what was going on. In 1969, what were people eating? In 1969, when we went out to eat, we went to Grandma's house. That was going out to eat. In 2009, what was going out to eat? People go out to eat all the time. So the food that we eat, and as we watch developing countries, I'm working with the country of Rwanda right now, and as Rwanda is, their goal is to be the Singapore of Africa by 2030, and they're fast track to get there. But as the country is having more money, guess what's popping up? McDonald's, Burger King. And as they eat more affluent diet, they begin to have the affluent diseases. Diet is huge. Fuel is huge. What's the best fuel to put into our bodies for our immune system? According to Cornell University, I took nutrition at Cornell. The fuel that will give us the best immune system, according to Cornell University and Cambridge University, is a whole food, plant-based diet. Whole food means it's not processed or refined. Plant-based means it comes from plants, but it doesn't just stop there. It also needs to be with variety. You don't want same-o, same-o, because there's different nutrients in all the different foods. A banana has certain nutrients. A mango has certain nutrients. A broccoli has certain nutrients. And so if you get that full spectrum of nutrients, those vitamins and minerals and fats and proteins and complex carbohydrates, you've got to have a wide variety selection of your food. But also it needs to be a whole food. Did you know that Oreos are vegan? Did you know that Fruit Loops are vegan? But they're not whole food, they're processed. So that's not a good thing. The other one is adequate rest. And we talked about that just a moment ago, the issues of not having enough sleep. If you don't have enough rest, you're going to drop your immune system and have let me go back. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Here we go. As we look at rest, it's just not the 8 to 9 hours. The hours before midnight are worth twice the hours after midnight. Harvard has found that at 9 o'clock, our brains start y'all know what the lymphatic system is? It's the sewer system in the body, the lymph nodes. What happens is from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, the lymphatic system in the brain, it's rather new. We didn't know that in school, that the brain had a lymphatic system. But from 9 to 10, it takes and does a deep cleaning of the brain. And from 10 o'clock to midnight, it does a thorough clean and flushing of the brain of toxins. But you have to be asleep for that to happen. It takes short-term memory and puts it in long-term memory. The memory hormones, the growth hormones, the organs in the body rejuvenate in those hours before midnight. So the time that you go to bed is important, but also what's the quality of sleep? People say, well, I get 8 hours sleep, but they wake up all night long. Whether the guy's got prostate problems or the lady's worrying about her kids, whatever the problem might be. They may have sleep apnea, but they're not getting good quality of sleep. And you've got to get into those stages of sleep where you have good REM sleep. And if you don't, it affects the immune system. So it's not just how many hours of sleep you get, but it's what time are you going to bed and what's the quality of sleep during those 8 to 9 hours. The next one is adequate hydration, and this one's really cool. As we learn more and more about hydration, water is so important. It's the train cars that carry the nutrients throughout the body. They did a study on kids, and they went and hydrated them. Batmanjati did this one. Dr. Batmanjati is the world's best in nutrient and water. And what he did is he took a bunch of elementary school kids, and he hydrated them at the right amount, and then he went and he gave them a math test. And the next day, he only dehydrated them by 2% and gave them the same math test. They scored significantly less. Water has a huge impact on the body. And what we're learning is how much should you drink? Well, we've known that body weight divided by 2, that many ounces a day, your urine needs to be clear or straw in color and not have an odor. But years ago, we learned that anything over, around that 4 or 5 ounces, that at a given time, it goes into something called free flow. So I take this bottle and I just drink, go. It's going to what? It's going to run right through me. If I have a sponge and I take it and I pour this on there, what's going to happen? The sponge will soak it up and then it'll start running on the table. But if I go out there on a nice hot summer day and I pour a little on there and come back a little later, and I pour a little more on there and come back a little later, what's going to happen? We're going to have evaporation. We're going to have good soaking up. So what we're learning is we need to drink about 4 ounces every 30 minutes. We're getting excellent results in hydrating the body. Just taking maybe 3-4 times a day a nice swig. Now, every 30 minutes, except, meal times. You don't want to drink 15 minutes before the meal, during the meal, or an hour after the meal. You mess up digestion. But throughout the day, if you just drink, just a sip, every 3 to 4 times. Now, the body weight divided by 2, that is only, that's sit on the couch. See, the state of Tennessee requires that I drink a gallon of water every day because I might be going into a house fire. And so we have to proactively well hydrate. And then during the fire, as we rehab, we drink water. After the fire, we drink water. If I fight fire with the United States Forest Service or the Park Service, they require me to drink a gallon of water. It used to be every 2 hours. Now it's every hour and a half. I have to drink a gallon of water because that's really hot stuff. So depending on your activity, what kind of work you do, your exercising, you need even more than body weight divided by 2. See, a 5-year-old, how old is she? 4. Okay, so University of California at Davis says a 5-year-old, it takes a half a gallon of water to run a 5-year-old, up to 128 pounds. Anything over 128 pounds body weight divided by 2, unless they're just really, really large. Sunshine is important. What do we think of immune system with sunshine? Vitamin D, very, very important of helping us with our immune system. We'll talk about vitamin D in a few minutes. Fresh air. Fresh air helps with oxygenation, helps the immune system. Effective exercise. Dr. Walter Kempner at Duke University, he found that the optimum in helping a person maintain good body function is to exercise 4 times a day. Now, Kempner was a German. He came over here in 33. 34, he started doing the research. He started working for Duke University in 33. And he was a medical doctor. He was a scientist and double trained. And he found exercising 4 times a day makes a significant difference in how well the body runs, how well it helps our immune system. We'll talk more about what Kempner found tomorrow afternoon. Making the right decisions. If a person smokes, can that affect their immune system? They drink alcohol. They do illicit drugs. Or maybe it's not, maybe you don't do drugs and alcohol and illicit drugs, that kind of thing, and smoke. But what if you're listening to music that's just plumb crazy? Can that affect your immune system? Or maybe you're watching the wrong things. Or maybe you're hanging out with folks that gossip, evil ting, much unhappiness. Can that affect your immune system? What you subject yourself to. It can affect it tremendously. So making the right decisions, temperance, or making the right decisions of what food you're eating or drinking or whatever. So we call that temperance. And the last one is the most important, and that's trusting God. That's where the power comes from. It's not from echinacea. It's not from golden seal. It's not from Alimed or colloidal silver or whatever it might be. God is the one that blesses it. We ask God to bless it, and it is God that does the healing. So let's look at some immune system boosters. So what I've spoke about already is how you proactively maintain your immune system. And you can do these others also a little to keep your immune system up. But if you start to get sick, hitting it hard can boost your immune system more greatly to fight off what you're catching. We'll talk about that. So garlic's probably one of the best herbs that builds the immune system. We know that garlic is according to the National Institute of Health, it's an antibiotic, it's antiviral, it's antifungal, it's antimicrobial, it's antiparasitic. It's very, very powerful in building your immune system. I was reading something it came from NIH just this week. And this physician was talking, and he was saying, we're looking at these drugs for COVID, and they're just not doing maybe what we're wanting them to do, because not everybody lives. There's a lot of people dying. And so and not all the drugs are working. And then we're trying other drugs, he said, that are for other things. And they may not be working. And this doctor said, maybe we need to be checking some of the things that we've known for many, many years. Look at the Asian community. Garlic's huge in the Asian community. And how long have they been using, these herbs to build the immune system? And one of the things he said was garlic. The other one was eucalyptus. And he said we need to be looking at it more. Echinacea, has anybody ever used echinacea? Echinacea is very, very strong. Elderberry, anybody ever used elderberries? Does it grow here? It grows where we live. I've got it growing out where I live. Elderberry is very, very powerful. Elderberry inhibits the early stages of an infection by blocking key viral proteins responsible for both the viral achievement and entry into the host cells. The phytochemicals from the elderberry juice were shown to be effective in stopping the virus infecting the cells. Isn't that cool? The phytochemicals from elderberry juice were shown to be effective at stopping the virus infecting the cells. However, to the surprise of the researchers, they were even more effective in inhibiting viral propagation at later stages of the influenza cycle when the cells had already been infected with the virus. This observation was quite surprising and rather significant because blocking the viral cycle at several stages has a higher chance of inhibiting the viral infection. This is the University of Sydney. Other immune boosters: onions, lemons, brightly colored vegetables. Vegetables, nuts, persimmons, cayenne pepper. All these guys help to boost the immune system. Minerals and vitamins and minerals. Vitamin C. Who's ever taken vitamin C? Now, what's the half-life on vitamin C? It's only 30 minutes. And so you want to use that vitamin C throughout the day, especially if you're really attacking something. What did we use? I almost gave it away. What did we use growing up in case we got sick for vitamin C? Orange juice. Yes. And about 17 years ago, I was at a seminar by a physician that I have a lot of respect for. And he said we shouldn't drink orange juice if we're sick. And I'm thinking, why are you saying that? We've always used orange juice. Drink a quart a day if you're sick. And he said, well, when did they juice the oranges? It could have been several weeks ago. Has the vitamin C oxidized off? He said, if you do want it, at least juice it right then. But he said, better yet, eat the orange. Because what's in the orange that could lower the immune system? Fructose. You got a lady who has a urinary tract infection. I was by the nursing station one day, and the doctor gives an order for the nurse to give a lady with a urinary tract infection a cup of cranberry juice every meal. The dietitian happened to be sitting there, and she said, that's not enough. She needs a quart each meal. Well, that's not an option because you got an infection and you're giving a quart of fructose. Doesn't work well, and so that's why we use D-mannose, and we'll talk about that Sunday. So it's better that you get that vitamin C from the orange. Now, what has more vitamin C than an orange? Kiwi is good in vitamin C. But I went to a seminar one time, and the lady was the nutritionist for the United States Navy SEALs. And she says there's more vitamin C in the cap of a strawberry than in an orange. She said if you're making a smoothie with strawberries, just throw in the strawberries with the caps on it. You got, 8, 10 strawberries in there. You got more than 8 or 10 oranges in vitamin C, but you don't have all that fructose from all those oranges. So vitamin C is very good. Vitamin C, preventive maintenance. Most adults benefit from 1,000 milligrams, 1 to 2, 3. I'm reading from Youngberg Clinic. Most of y'all know Youngberg, West Youngberg. Prevention and maintenance. Prevention and maintenance. Most adults benefit from 1,000 milligrams once to 3 times a day. If infected, the body can absorb much higher doses of vitamin C without any gastrointestinal distress. Many find that increasing doses up to bowel tolerance 3 times a day is helpful to support the immune system. What does it mean, bowel tolerance? If you take too much vitamin C, it gives you something called green apple two-step. If you eat too many green apples, it gives you the trots. And so if you take too much vitamin C, it can give you a loose stool. And so what Youngberg's saying here is go to bowel tolerance. What's interesting is, if a person is sick, they have a higher bowel tolerance. They can tolerate more vitamin C. But as they get healthier, their tolerance reduces, so they have to cut back more and more of the vitamin C because their bowels can't handle it. And that's a good thing. Children can benefit as well by taking doses consistent with their bowel tolerance, just like we do magnesium. Vitamin D. Preventive maintenance, most need 5,000 IUs daily. In the fall and winter, many need 10,000 units daily. In the spring and summer, most need about 5,000 IUs daily. That's a rule of thumb. The key is not how much you take a day. The key is, what is your blood level of vitamin D? I have a lady that came in to me, and she brought her labs, and her vitamin D was 12. Well, normal range is 30 to 100. And 30 is low. You want at least 50. And if you want to really fight you want a good immune system, you want 80 to 100, according to physicians. She's got 12, and she's taking 5,000 IUs a day. So I said, well, let's go to 5,000 twice a day. And she went to 17 is all she went. Well, I've got a buddy in D.C. We used to work together. He's a surgeon up there, and he does a lot of research on vitamin D. And for his patients that are low in vitamin D, he'll do 20,000 IUs twice a day and monitor once a month. So we went 20,000 twice a day, and we went a month. She went to 24. Only 24. What's the low end? 30. So what's the problem? And I called my buddy, and I said, here's the situation. This lady she's white. Now, what's that mean? When I went to Africa this last time, I took a physician with me that started the medical school in Tallahassee. He's a black fella. And he told the folks there, he says, now y'all and I, he says, have sunglasses on our skin. He said, no, Walt doesn't. He says, we need 6 times the amount of sunshine that Walt needs because we have sunglasses on our skin. The darker the pigmentation, the more sunshine we have to get the same amount of vitamin D. So this lady is Caucasian, but also she works outside in landscaping. So it's not that she doesn't get enough sunshine. She's taking 20,000 twice a day, and she still only has a blood level of 24. And we're trying to figure out what it was. And shortly thereafter, I saw some research come out, and it said it takes magnesium to make this vitamin D process work. Later that morning, my friend, the surgeon, calls me. He says, Walt, I just saw this new research come out on vitamin D and magnesium. I said, I saw it this morning. I said, well, let's try it. So we gave her magnesium. Boom. Where did it go? Her blood level went to 97. So it's not how much you take a day on vitamin D. What is the blood level? That's what you want to find out. And so, normal is 30 to 100. But if you want to really boost that immune system, 80 to 100 is where it really boosts the immune system. Depending upon the severity of the symptoms, Youngberg said, an adult may take the 5,000 IU dose once, 2, or even 3 times a day for 3 to 5 days only. This is only for a few days, and then resume the normal daily dose of 4,000 to 10,000 a day. And we're doing this for folks with COVID. And Youngberg was what he was responding to was the COVID issue. Children should all be taking a minimum of 2,000 IUs of vitamin D daily. If infected with symptoms, should use 1,000 IUs per pound body weight daily for 3 days as a way to further mobilize their immune system while it is under an attack. So if your immune system, first of all, we need to have an adequate blood level. But if you don't have an adequate blood level and you do get an attack of something on your immune system, Youngberg said that you could take the 50,000 IUs 3 times a day for several days and then cut back to build that immune system. Iodine. Who's ever done iodine? Iodine is huge. It's really important. Iodine is probably one of the most significant items to prevent breast cancer. We actually can increase IQ, and maybe we'll have time to talk about that later in children. But iodine in the immune system, iodine, natural antiviral, antifungal, antibiotic. Iodine is a natural antiviral, antifungal, and antibiotic. Iodine was the most effective agent for killing viruses, especially influenza viruses. Aerosol iodine was found to kill viruses in sprayed mists, and solutions of iodine were equally effective. So you can take it PO by mouth. Dr. Fletches in North Carolina found that he had the best if he used an iodine that had about a 12.5-hour time release. Where you take the liquid, it's already it's done its thing in just an hour and a half. This. In 1945, Burnett and Stone found that putting iodine on mice's snouts prevented the mice from being infected with the lethal levels of live influenza virus in mice. They suggest that impregnating masks with iodine would help to stop viral spread, ideally sprayed on the inside of an N95 or N99 mask and left to dry before use. So we can actually spray iodine on our mask is what Youngberg's talking about here, and it can help prevent influenza. They also, or the COVID. They also recommended that medical personnel have iodine aerosol treated rooms for examination and treatment of highly infected patients. Oral iodine might also boost the body's defense mechanisms in the upper oral and respiratory mucus. Conclusion, iodine incorporated into mask solutions, aerosols, and oral preparation could help kill influenza virus and fight off the H1N1 pandemic. In addition to the more dilute form of iodine in the liquid iodine spray, Dr. David Derry recommends taking 12.5 milligram tablet of combined iodine and potassium iodide. So you're looking at potassium iodide and potassium iodine, and ladies, it's phenomenal on preventing breast cancer in the research. In America, we started doing the research on increasing children's IQ. Germany is now doing the IQ. America, we used 12.5 milligrams during the pregnancy. In Germany, they're now using 25 to 50 milligrams during pregnancy. In America, we saw an increase of IQ of 10 to 15 points above their mother's IQ. Now we're looking at that, helping folks in Africa and helping IQ development. Dr. David Derry recommends using 1 tablet daily as a way to build up iodine levels in the body, thus optimizing natural antiviral status in the mucosal tissues, sinuses, throat, and lungs. If you are on thyroid medication, work with your family doctor and recheck TSH and thyroid panel after 6 weeks to see if your thyroid medication dose needs adjustment, and that's true. But be careful if you're hyperthyroid. Below 0.4, be careful using iodine. Usually definitely it's good if you're hypo, but be careful if you're hyper. Colloidal silver, has anyone ever used colloidal silver? Colloidal silver is powerful. Again, Youngberg says the use as a natural antiviral, antifungal, and antibiotic. To fight internal infections, may use 5 sprays in the mouth and swallow 3 times a day and reevaluate as needed. For benefits to lung, may spray and inhale into the lungs 5+ sprays 3 times a day. As a preventative or management strategy for sinuses, spray 1 or 2 spritz into each nostril 1 to 3 times daily or as needed to manage risk or symptoms. And we're having folks use that as a prevention right now in what we're dealing with. Zinc. Do you hear people talking about zinc for the immune system? Absolutely. They're recommending 50 to 100 milligrams of zinc. But be careful with zinc, because when you take too much zinc, you deplete what? Copper. So, if you're 50 milligrams or more, take a 3-5 milligram copper along with it, or use one that's combined. You don't want to deplete yourself of the copper. And zinc not only is important for the immune system, it's important for prostate, for us guys. It's important for brain function. It's important for the thyroid. Zinc is very important for us to have. What food is really high in zinc when you think of it? Pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds is a great source of zinc. Zinc lozenges, again, Youngberg. Zinc lozenges for sore throats, laryngitis, and colds. Allow the lozenge to dissolve completely in the mouth. Do not chew as the immune activation and antiviral activity is best while zinc lozenge remains in the mouth. But folks are taking zinc pills and having good results. Essential oils, oregano. Who's ever used oil of oregano? I mean, that is my go-to. If I feel that I'm starting to catch something, you know how you can feel kind of bad? Or you feel like an elephant starting to sit on you? If I'll take, now don't take 100% oil of oregano and do this. Not neat. You want to use it, neat means only. But you want to mix it, 1 part oil of oregano, 3 parts olive oil. So it's only 25% oil of oregano. And you can put it in water. I put 10 drops under my tongue and swallow it, but don't do that. You're going to think I'm trying to kill you. It's tough to swallow. But, I mean, it'll knock it out. The key is the incipient stage. The key is the incipient stage. Theraflu is not going to work after 48 hours. Even on natural, you want to hit it at the beginning. It's kind of like sin. What happens if you're growing a garden and you've got your corn or your tomatoes and you've got these big old weeds and you start pulling out the big weeds? What's it do? It pulls out your plants. And so you pick them when they're little. If you want to deal with the immune system, pick it at that incipient stage, the beginning stage. And so carry that oil of oregano in your purse, or I've got one on my nightstand and Mary Lou's got one on hers, so we don't wake each other up if we feel like, we're starting to. Have you ever woke up and feel like your immune system's dropping in the middle of the night? Well, take you some oil of oregano. It can boost it right back up. Myrrh, copaiba. Who's heard of copaiba? Some people pronounce it copaiba. Copaiba has the highest of any herb known on lowering for inflammation, as an anti-inflammatory. But it's also very, very good for the immune system, copaiba. It comes from a copaiba tree. The copaiba trees are from Brazil. They're around 30 to 50 years old, I believe, when they collect the oil from the tree and they make essential oil. Frankincense. If in doubt, use frankincense. It's very good. Thieves' oil. Who's ever heard of thieves' oil? There was a situation where these thieves were going around stealing years ago, and they were going and they were grave robbers. And they would put these oils on them, clove, lemon, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus, and rosemary. And they would put all those on there, those 5 essential oils, and it would boost their immune system. Now, some people say, well, Walt, we're not supposed to use essential oils. New Agers use essential oils. We're not supposed to be using them. Well, New Agers drink water. New Agers are vegans. Now, I'm not vegan. I got a leather belt. So I'm whole food plant-based. But an essential oil is, and we'll talk more about this Sunday, essential oil is just a very concentrated herb. An example, who's ever used peppermint oil? Anybody ever used peppermint oil? Okay. 1 drop of peppermint oil, to have the same medicinal benefit in tea, you would have to drink 28 cups of herbal tea. That's a good quality herbal tea. If it was poor quality, it was old or something, you'd need even more. It's just, I call it herbs on steroids. It's just very potent herbs that's been distilled or pressed. And so I was going to have some of these to show you tonight, but they're somewhere on an airplane. Rocket fuel, who's ever had rocket fuel? Anybody ever had rocket fuel? It's great stuff. Garlic, 5 to 10 cloves. This you drink it and it builds your immune system. Onion, a half an onion. Ginger, a thumb. That means a piece of ginger the size of your thumb. Lemon juice, the juice of 2 lemons. Honey, 2 tablespoons. Cayenne pepper, 1/8 to half a teaspoon. But be careful with cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper has different strengths. Now pepper, there's different peppers. You've got a pepper that's really weeny, and it might be only 20,000 HUs, heating units. The Carolina Reaper is 2.2 million, I think is what it is, 2.2 million HUs. That's hot. And so be careful with the pepper that you have, because they're not all equal. Elderberry syrup. Now I've added these. This is what the original one. I added the elderberry syrup to it, and I added the Alimed. And we'll talk Sunday more about Alimed. Alimed is just super. It's powerful. It takes 24 cloves of garlic to make 1 drop. A teaspoon is 2,240 cloves of garlic. Extremely powerful. Add warm water to net 1 quart. Blend it and drink all in 30 to 60 minutes. I don't think we're going to have time to do hydrotherapy tonight. Maybe we can do that later, because we need to do question and answers. But let me just show you real quickly. I won't go into depth, but here, this is benefits of, this is Dr. Jockers. The other one was 2. He had talked about 9. Here's 18. Benefits of cold. Who's ever finished their shower in cold water? I can tell when my wife is finished with her shower. She starts hollering. Dr. Schultz used to say, if you're not hollering, it's not cold enough. Cold water builds the immune system. It's interesting. Who's ever heard of a fever treatment? Anybody ever heard of a fever treatment? There's fever treatments, and I read Dr. Charles Thomas's work at Loma Linda, and said it would increase the white cell count 7-fold, but I didn't believe it. No way. So I had my nurses draw labs on a number of patients over a period of time, and every one of them peaked at 7-fold at 5 hours. Dr. Cherney, in his work at Eden Valley, he found that the bell doesn't come back to normal until 3 days. But we found, we would draw the lab on the patient, put them in the fever treatment. At the end of the fever treatment, actually their white count had dropped. But when we poured ice water down the back of their neck and then immediately drew the lab again within less than 30 seconds, probably within 15 seconds, and drew that one again, it significantly increased beyond what it was at the beginning. But cold water is very, very good for building the immune system. You've got saunas. Little older sauna, little older saunas. These are back years ago. This is a fever treatment, very, very effective. We use it for fighting cancer or building the immune system, Lyme's disease, whatever. Years ago, it was kind of a common practice. If you went to Loma Linda in the early 1900s, this is what you were doing. If you went to Battle Creek, this is how they're treating their patients. This is the United States Navy. When I don't remember if I was still in school or just got out, and I ran into this gentleman. He was in his upper 90s. And he knew I was in healthcare, and he says, Walt, I need to tell you something. Someday you may need it. He says, when I was in World War I as a nurse, he said, the only thing that was effective that we used in the Army to address influenza, the only thing that was effective was hot and cold fomentations. Hot and cold fomentations. And so here we have the Navy using fever treatments. We have the Army using hot and cold fomentations. Here's after the fever treatment. This is the hot and cold fomentation, where you take 3 minutes hot, and then either a 30-second cold mitten friction, and then wipe it off, another fomentation hot for another 3 minutes. You do that 3 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 1 minute, or 3 minutes, 30 seconds, depending on if you're doing just putting cold on there, or if you're doing a cold mitten friction 7 times. You can do it twice a day, but it's extremely effective on addressing respiratory issues, whether it's pneumonia or influenzas. And we're having very good success as folks call and they have COVID and challenges with respiratory, with breathing, have very good benefit using the hot and cold fomentations. I tell you what, we got a couple mics here. What if we do some question and answers for a few minutes? We're going to have more question and answers tomorrow and Sunday, but if y'all have any questions, yes, sir. I think they're getting you a mic.
What would be a good way to measure your immune system? I understand that you can look at vitamin D and some other things, but they're selling some tests all over the internet. Is that something we should look into?
Okay, you want to have him repeat that question?
What would be the best way to measure your immune system? I understand that the level of vitamin D could be an indicator or some other things.
Yes.
They're selling some immune system tests over the internet. What's the best way to measure your immune system?
One good way is how are you feeling? You know, do you feel good and strong? But yes, you can look at the vitamin D. There is a direct relationship with vitamin D in your immune system, your white cells. I know there's some more I can't think.
What do you think about those tests that are so?
I don't know what they're using.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Another question. Yes, in the back.
You kindly addressed this with the consumption of sugar. Does our body need sugar and how much? And if, the refined sugar?
That's a very good question. And I meant to address that in water. When we drink water, we can measure the amount of the sugar in the system. And you can, based on how much sugar a person is consuming, or hydration, if a person is dehydrated or overhydrated, many people can skip meals or drink too much water, and actually their sugar be too low. You want a brick level of about 1.5. If it goes below 1.2, then you need to start adding something in the water. We're told if it's below 1.2, you shouldn't even drive. There's folks that have a brick level of 0.5, and Dr. I'll think of his name in a moment. He found that we need to monitor that sugar level. And so yes, we do need some sugar because your sugar can drop too low. And when it drops too low, your thinking ability drops And so, not just because you're diabetic. And this was totally new to me. I thought, only if you're diabetic do you have to worry about being hypoglycemic or your sugar being too low. But as I started measuring the sugar, I found that it is true. If a person's sugar drops because either drinking too much water or they haven't eaten in a long time, then it affects their cognitive function. So you do need some sugar. But what's a good source of sugar? Your fruit. Your fruit's a good source of sugar. Just, if you eat a banana or a pineapple. Pineapple's probably an excellent one that you could do, a pineapple juice or some pineapple, and that can bring it back up. So if you're ever questioning if you're just not running too good, or blackstrap molasses can also bring that sugar level up. So yes, your sugar can be too high or your sugar can be too low. That number is dependent. It could be because of the sugar consumption, or it could be because of your hydration. If you're dehydrated, it will cause the sugar content to be too high.
We have some questions coming in.
Just like if you're dehydrated, it can cause the sodium to be too high. Yes, ma'am.
We have some questions coming in through Zoom as well. Somebody is asking, what is fermentation?
What is a fomentation? Okay, so a fomentation is a towel, or you can take a piece of, we call it a hydroculator pack in physical therapy, and it has bentonite clay in it, and you dunk it down in a hydroculator pack heater, and it heats up the pack, and you put that on the chest. But you can just take a towel, and you take the towel and roll it up, and you can sit it down in real hot water and bring it out with some tongs and some gloves and wring it out. Or you can, if you have a microwave, we got rid of our microwave when we saw it wasn't good for nutrition. And so I had to buy another one to be able to use it for hydrotherapy. And so what I'll do is I'll take a towel, fold it, roll it up, dunk it in hot water, wring it out, put it in like a Walmart bag, stick it in the microwave, and heat it up. Different microwaves are different, so it depends on your microwave, how long you heat it. Pull it out. You want to put a barrier towel. You want to put a barrier towel and then put your fomentation on it and then put another towel or blanket on top of that. You can actually do the chest and the back at the same time. Have their feet popped up in hot water, and that's called a revulsive treatment, where you're doing the hot and cold both on the back. And so if we have enough time, I can show that this weekend how to do that. Any other questions?
For our audience on Zoom, you are more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question. Also on YouTube, you can comment, and we'll be able to see your question there as well. One question is, what is a brick level?
You take a refractometer and you measure the brick level. And Dr. Reams is the fellow who figured this out. And you can check brick level on food to tell the nutritional value. It's the amount of carbohydrates and sugar. And so it will refract through that, and it measures the level of carbohydrate or sugar. And you measure it by a machine called a refractometer.
Thank you.
Or device. Any other questions? I tell you what. The fellow over here in the back, can he help me? Can you help me? I'll show you real quick how to do the fomentations. Do I need to wear a mask with him? Pardon? Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do, if he lays down here, can the camera still see? Okay, great. If you can lay down here. Okay, great. So the first thing we do is we get our supplies together, and our supplies are, our towels and our hot water and everything's ready. What's the first thing we do? We pray. Because it is God that does the healing, not the hydrotherapy, or not you. If you think you're the one healing somebody, if you think you're healing somebody, it's only God does the healing. So if you're just doing the chest, then what you do is you'll take and you'll put the hot towel on the chest, and you can put a cold rag on the forehead, and you leave the hot towel there. Again, you put a barrier towel, you put the towel there, and then you put some blankets on top, and you leave it for about 3 minutes. And then after 3 minutes, you pull it off, and I get a bucket of ice water. Now, I don't do it for 30 seconds. I do it for 15 seconds. And I'll take a washcloth, and real quickly, I'll rub the chest for 15 seconds. Then I put it back in the ice water, and do another 15 seconds. So I still do the 30 seconds, but I get it colder in that after 15 seconds. After you're finished, you take a towel and dry it off, and then you put your barrier towel, put another hot towel on there, and your blanket. The reason you dry it off is the vapor. You can have some vapor burn issues, and so you do that: hot, cold, 3 minutes, 1 minute, or 30 seconds. If you do a cold mitten friction, it's 30 seconds total. If you don't do a cold mitten friction and you're just laying an ice pack on here, it's for 1 minute. So you do it 3, 1, 3, 1, 7 times, and the treatment's over. It's good to have the patient then go and just rest for a while. Dr. Thomas at Loma Linda found that they have much better healing if they go and sleep for about 2 hours after the treatment. But let's say we're going to really hit it hard, and we're doing more of a revulsive treatment. So what we'll do is we'll get a pail of hot water, and we'll lift his feet. Go ahead and bend them, and you check the water to make sure, and you put the feet down in there. Be gentle, and then you come back over here, and you're going to put that ice pack on the head, keeping the brain nice and cool. Now, what we're going to do this time is we're going to do the front and the back. So go ahead and do a sit-up for me, okay? And we got a sheet and a blanket over here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a hot towel here. I'm going to put a barrier towel, and again, the chest, the body's exposed, and he's going to lay on down. And we're going to have the hot towel, a barrier towel, and now he's laying down on top of the barrier towel. And we're going to do the same thing for the chest. We're going to put a barrier towel and a hot towel. And we started the watch when we laid him down on the hot one on the back. After 3 minutes, we have him sit on up. We take this away. We do the cold mitten friction. Rinse it. Come back another 15 seconds. Dry it off. Bring in another hot towel. And it's good to have somebody to help you because this is very labor intensive. And you'll lay him back down on that. Put the ice pack back on here. And now you do the chest. And you're going back and forth, back, chest, 3 minutes, 1 minute, or 30 seconds, whichever you're doing. Also, you're going to come over here, check this hot water. If it's starting to get kind of cool, dip some out, pour some more hot water. You're going to take this ice pack, rinse it out and wring it out in the ice water, put it back onto here. And you're doing this for the 7-1-7-1 for 7, 3-1-3-1 for 7 times. When you're finished, then what you'll do is you'll lift, and what he does is he puts his hands to hold that. See, when you lift him up, he's holding the one on his chest. So you lift him up, you're going to take this one away, and if the bed's not, I like putting, say, like something on the bed that is some type of plastic. A shower curtain works very, very well. Garbage bag so you don't get the sheets wet. And you then, after you're finished, drying him off, lay him back down. And then you're going to take the pad off here. You're going to dry, after you're finished doing the hot and cold, you're going to dry it off. And then you're going to take the ice pack off the head. And then you're going to come over here, bring your ice water, and you're going to lift your feet up. You're going to pour ice water, because you always end hydrotherapy, or usually always end if you're doing a revulsive, you always do. If you're doing a hot and cold, you always end in cold. You move this hot water away, dry him off, go ahead and lay him on down, and then you go ahead and cover him up and let him sleep for 2 hours or rest for 2 hours. If the bed's too wet, move him to another spot so he's not in dampness. Any questions on that process?
Someone on YouTube is asking, is the hot towel wet or dry during
It's
the
wet.
process?
Good question. The towel is, what I'll do is I'll take the towel and I'll fold it 3 times, and third, roll it up, dab it down in hot water, wring it, not plumb, not totally, but wring it, and then put it in the Walmart bag and then heat it. Kellogg found that moist heat goes deeper than dry heat. And so you do it with moist heat. You know what a heating pad is, and you know what a thermophore is. A thermophore is one that's moist. It's just a moist one. Folks will use it instead of a hydrocollator pad in physical therapy. They'll use a thermophore. Any other questions?
A clarification question, what is the hydro treatment used for?
What is this used for? To build the immune system. So a person could have just a common cold. They could have COVID. You could have influenza. You're just wanting to build the immune system, and this process will build the immune system, but also it's excellent for pneumonia. It's tremendous for pneumonia. Yeah. Any other questions?
We have one. Hello? Me? We have one question on Zoom by Angela, so let's try to get her on so that she can say her question. Angela, are you there?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Angela.
Hello. I have a question about digestion. My question is about leaky gut. I have symptoms of leaky gut, and your body's not able to digest properly, even though you're eating like low FODMAP foods and avoiding grains, and you're avoiding meat and dairy, as well as rice and bread, or anything that might scratch the intestinal walls. My question is, after repeated trials, even seeing naturopaths, years of trying to do something about it, the doctors, they might say there's nothing wrong with your liver, nothing wrong with this, nothing wrong with that. But my question to you is, after you've tried everything and you can tell your body is not absorbing the nutrients, and there's some form of leaky gut going, because after you eat, you feel dizzy, or you can tell your body's not digesting from what turns out in the end. The supplements, like I know my vitamin D is low, but my body cannot absorb the nutrients when you have leaky gut. It's like the walls, the villi in the intestines are not able to absorb even the foods that I eat. So I'm making this a long question, but my question is, do you know of anything that might help it? And on top of that question, I wanted to stress that I believe this originated from lack of sleep, stress, and excessive sugar. So I have stopped all that. Maybe the sleep isn't so good. And of course, when you're around stress, you can't watch it. But going back to the original question, is there another way I can absorb supplement like vitamin C, vitamin D? I know that I can use magnesium on the skin, but I'm leaving that at that question right there.
My first question is, can she still stay on and ask her a question? My first question is, how do you know that you have leaky gut?
from the way I feel. I'm sorry. It's from the way, well, from what the internet describes leaky gut is when you feel sick after you eat, you feel dizzy, you don't feel like, and plus I went to the naturopath, they test you for your blood to see, you know, how your oxygen levels and everything is going on. Obviously from the IBS, I'm assuming there's a leaky gut syndrome going on because of the way I feel.
Okay. The first thing I do is I would do a test called intestinal permeability assessment. Intestinal permeability assessment is done by Genova Laboratories, and it's a 5 to 6 hour urine collection. And what you do is you drink a macronutrient first, and then you collect that urine over 5 to 6 hours, and then you shake it up and you send it back to Genova Labs. If it has the macronutrient in the urine, then you have leaky gut. And leaky gut is where you're absorbing macronutrients in addition to the micronutrients. And what happens is the villi in the duodenum, it's like little vacuum cleaners, and they have these little holes, and they only absorb they're only supposed to absorb real tiny stuff that's been digested. And it's kind of like going to the apple barn, and where you stick the apples in there, and the small ones fall in first, and the mediums fall, then the big ones fall in the hole. Well, what happens with leaky gut is you have larger holes for whatever, there's various reasons. But instead of you only absorbing in through this little vacuum called villi, micronutrients, you're bringing in macronutrients. And that causes all kinds of problems. And so the first thing I do is verify, do you have leaky gut through that tool? I would also look at some other things. If you're looking at digestion and being able to absorb, there's a lot of things that affect digestion. It could just be the pH of the saliva. pH of the saliva that's outside of 6.2 to, say, 6.7, it affects your digestion. That's where digestion starts. Well, actually, it doesn't start in the mouth. Do you know where digestion starts? In the eyes. Did you know digestion starts in the eyes and the nose? Yeah, if it looks beautiful and it looks really good, it can start the juices going. But it looks like dog food, you're not interested in it. So actually they tell us, make food look pretty. Actually, digestion starts in what you're seeing and what you're smelling. But actually where it's really starting to break it down is in the mouth. You got your amylase, the protease, the lipase. And if you're drinking with your meals, then you're not producing as much saliva, spit, as I talk to the kids. And so you don't have as much chainsaws to rip it down. You're diluting it. And then, are you chewing it long enough? You know, chew it 40, 50 times. You want to make it pureed, like baby food. Have you ever gone and made a cake, and you got the powder, and you pour in the liquid, and you stir it about 2 times? Is it ready to go in the oven? No. Or if you got a wheelbarrow, and you pour in your Sackcrete, and you pour in your water, and you move your hoe about 2-3 times, is it ready to pour in the hole? No. That Sackcrete has to soak up the liquid, the water, and become a compound concrete. And just like the cake has to soak up the powder as you take your mixture and soak it up. When you chew your food, and it's got to soak up the saliva in order for those predigestive enzymes to start that first third of digestion. And when people talk about juicing, you don't drink your juice. Don't drink juice. Chew your juice. See, you want to mix the saliva with it for a good 10 seconds, 20 seconds to mix it, because all you did when you juiced is you just took the fiber out. You still have all the, all your nutrients are still there. And so you got to break them down. If you just go, you're totally missing that first part of digestion in the mouth. The next thing is in the stomach. If you're drinking with your meals, then that dilutes what's going on in the stomach. Also, it can slow down digestion because it has to get rid of the fluids first. Or if you're drinking a whole lot, like I used to. When I used to go out to eat, I'd drink 2 pitchers of water. Well, if you fill the stomach too much, you can actually prematurely push the chyme out into the small intestines before it's totally ready to go. And so you don't want to drink with the meals. The other thing that can happen is there was a study done in West Tennessee. There was a nurse that would go out and she would, to make extra money, she would draw labs. And she noticed there was a group of people, and she did a good job as a nurse. If she saw a problem, she'd help them with what they needed to do to adjust the labs. And she saw a group of people that their protein was low. And she asked them individually, how much protein are you eating? What are you eating as protein? How much are you eating? When are you eating? And they stated they were eating enough. So she got a friend of mine who's a physician over there, and he went to help her with this problem. What he found was these people were very stressed people. And when you're stressed, you go into fight or flight. And when you go into fight or flight, the blood pressure goes up, the clotting factor goes up, the communication to the nerves and the muscles go up, glucose can go up, all kinds of stuff goes up. But what goes down? Digestion stops, slows down. And because when you're running from the bear, you don't need to digest food. You got to run, clot, whatever. And so these people were just highly stressed people. And they weren't breaking the protein down properly in digestion because they were just stressed all the time. And so if you're wanting to break that food down to be able to absorb it into the villi as you're talking about, you've got to make sure that the right thing's going on in the mouth, the right thing's going on in the stomach. If you're having problems after you eat, pain after you eat, rule out H. pylori. There's a lot of H. pylori going out today. And you rule that out. Make sure you don't have H. pylori. And there's ways you can get rid of H. pylori. Garlic is the best. Allicin, I like using allicin. And that will get rid of the H. pylori. Use a good probiotic also. If you do have leaky gut, there's some things you can use, and garlic's another thing that helps to heal leaky gut, and there's other things that help to heal leaky gut. If you're talking about it scratchiness, it makes me wonder, is it like gastritis or something going on? And so if you do have that type of situation that you need to heal the tissue in the stomach or in the intestines, the best thing I found to heal that tissue is to do potato soup. Potatoes, carrots, celery, and onions. Potatoes, celery, carrots, and onions. Add water to it. Not like Mary Lou used to do. She used to put a stick of butter, half and half, sour cream, salt, pepper, whatever. It tasted real good, but it was deadly. Just do potatoes, celery, carrots, and onions. Cook them up in a pot of water, and you can blend it, puree if you want to, and you can eat a quart of it each meal. Do it for 21 days. It's phenomenal, the phytochemicals in that soup to heal the stomach walls and the intestines. The other thing you may want to add is 1 teaspoon of carob powder twice a day in water, or if you need some applesauce. Also aloe vera, 2 ounces, 3 times a day between meals, can also go in there and heal the walls. Slippery elm is good. Slippery elm, psyllium, marshmallow root, peppermint, spearmint, all those are good. To say take a combination of that, I'll do 3 parts psyllium, whole psyllium, not powdered psyllium, whole psyllium, 1 part slippery elm, a half a part marshmallow, a fourth of a part peppermint, a fourth of a part spearmint, all those powders except the psyllium. Mix it into a compound, take 2 tablespoons and some water, 30 minutes before each meal, and it's amazing what it does, those phytochemicals, to heal the stomach and the small intestines. Again, you got to figure out what the cause is. Don't just look at symptoms. Try to figure out what's going on. And I love diagnostics. Diagnostics are tremendous. Someone comes to me and they say, Walt, do I need to take more vitamin D? I don't know. What's the blood level? Walt, do I need to take more B12? I don't know. What's the blood level? You know, if you told me, let's say I had some numbness in my fingers, or I had some short-term memory issues, you'd say, oh, Walt, you need some vitamin B12. Probably not. My B12's off the chart. It's almost 1,300. No, it's something else causing the problem. So you want to figure out what that root cause is. That's what I would encourage. And diagnostics are a great tool to do that. And if you do this this healing formulas that I just mentioned. That can help to heal the gut, heal the small intestines. And no, you don't want milk, you don't want gluten. And we can talk later about the challenges that we're seeing in gluten out there today, and where we're not seeing the same issues in the European wheat. People can do the European wheat, but they're not able to do the American wheat, and there's reasons for that. But that's what I would do for that.
Okay, we have 2 sets of questions remaining before we conclude. So the next question is also from Zoom, from Laura, and her question is, what are the best treatments, diet or herbs, for COPD? And is COPD curable in your opinion?
Okay, COPD used to include 3 different items: asthma, emphysema, and chronic bronchitis. About 2-3 years ago, they pulled out asthma. So asthma is no longer considered COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And actually, there's an anesthesiologist, you may hear it called COLD now, chronic obstructive lung disease, whether it was he wanted a name for himself or whether or not he felt people just weren't smart enough to know what pulmonary meant. So we are seeing COLD now instead of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So the issues are either emphysema or chronic bronchitis. You want to support those lungs. Take away any irritants. Again, take away, what type of COPD, what is the type of the COPD, and what was the irritant that caused it? Do you smoke? Did someone else smoke? And if you smoke, quit smoking. If you're around someone that smokes, don't be around them. Don't be around the smoke, whatever that irritant may be. First of all, you got to take those causes away. And then you can use things like mullein. Mullein is phenomenal on addressing lung issues. Lobelia can help. If you're taking albuterol, albuterol has some challenges, and a surgeon taught me many years ago, actually 2 surgeons taught me, you can take a nebulizer, and instead of putting albuterol in the nebulizer, put in distilled water, and then put in 2 drops of eucalyptus oil, a good quality eucalyptus oil, and nebulize that. And it's a great bronchial dilator, and you don't have the crazy side effects, the challenges you do with the albuterol. Those are the things I would do. To figure out what's the cause, remove the cause, and then the mullein is amazing on helping to restore lung tissue, lung function. Lobelia can help. Be careful with lobelia. Lobelia is an antispasmodic, but it's also a spasmodic. If you use too much, it works like syrup of ipecac. But if you use a low dose, it's an antispasmodic, and it can help with lung issues. And the eucalyptus is great.
One last question we have from YouTube here. It says, do you recommend vitamins over the counter? If so, what brands? If not, what are the best ways to supplement our vitamins of deficiency, like vitamin D?
The best way to get your vitamins, I tell you the best vitamin store to go to, and I'll tell you the best brand of vitamins. Go to your backyard. Grow your own food. Now, there's several keys in that. 1, the nutrients have to be in the soil. 2, you have to have seeds that pull up the nutrients. University of North Carolina, Department of Agriculture found that hybrid seeds only uptake approximately 40% of the nutrients out of the soil that hybrid seeds have, open pollinated. So here you are spending all this time growing your garden, and you're using hybrid seeds. You're going to probably get only a 40% return versus if you'd use heirloom or open pollinated. So first thing, make sure the nutrients are in the soil. You do soil analysis. Do a good soil analysis, not just what your Department of Agriculture has. Do some other. Just find out what's in there. Is it missing boron? Is it missing these items? Is it missing copper? What's it missing? Because if it's not in the soil, the plant can't pull it up. The plant, it has to be in the soil for you to get it in your food. And so make sure it's in the soil. Use heirloom seeds, and then take care of your plants. Don't spray them with all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's called biological gardening. That's your best going to be nutrition. That's your best way. that is your best way to get your vitamins and minerals is to grow your own food. If you are going to have to supplement, pray. Ask God to lead you to, good, healthy nutrients, and do some research. Find companies that, may use whole food vitamins. Don't go just to the cheapest thing out there. Get your nutrients in herbs. I mean, if you want to, who's ever heard of nettle? Stinging nettle. Nettle, when I go up to Wisconsin, who is it here has a family member up in Minnesota? Is it back? Those ladies up there, they will go out and put a rubber glove on and go cut nettle. And they'll put it in their soups, their stews, they'll cook it. Nettle is probably the most nutritious herb in North America. Has all kinds of vitamins and minerals in it. And so go out and get your herbs and make teas out of them, cook them, and get your nutrition that way. If you do need to supplement, and there's times we need to supplement, then go and do your due diligence and find companies that have good quality and take that good quality of a supplement. But the goal is to get back and grow your own food. That's your best.
I'd like to thank you, Walt Cross, for coming on today and sharing all this knowledge with us. This has been a huge blessing. Thank you for everybody who was here, who watched online, and who presented questions. I've seen more questions come in. If you can write them down, we're going to have a Q&A session tomorrow as well. So tomorrow we're going to have another lecture at 3 o'clock, diabetes and heart disease. For those who got flyers from church, it says 4 to 5. It's not, it's at 3 o'clock. And so join us whether in person or online as well, and you can ask your questions after the lecture. So tomorrow afternoon, Walt Cross will present on diabetes and heart disease at 3 o'clock. And then December 13th, on Sunday, we will have a morning lecture at 10:30 in the morning, which will be very interesting and hands-on. We're excited for that one as well. It's called Hands-On Old Mountain Remedies. And so these lectures will be in person and streamed online as well. A few more announcements before we close. We will also have our last guest speaker for the year coming next weekend. And so his name is Dr. Eddie Ramirez. You may have heard of his name before. He is a medical doctor, research scientist, and he's published over 130 medical studies in the scientific literature. He's got a lot of interesting topics as well that he covers, and so he will be coming to end the year here in December 18th. At 6:30, he'll present on the new emerging diseases. Saturday in the morning, he will present at 11 o'clock, Heal Your Life by Healing Your Thoughts. And then Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., Your Best Weapon Against COVID and How to Sharpen It. And then 3 p.m., How Your Microbiota Influences Your Emotions. So we'll be addressing a little bit the impact that gut health has on your mental health, which is an important key as well. And so if you are interested in attending tomorrow's seminar or Sunday's seminar or Dr. Ramirez's seminars, we encourage you to RSVP at our website. The meetup group that we have, the website is meetup.com/Elmhurst SDA, and you can RSVP to specific events since we have some restrictions on attendance in person. Otherwise, please do join online, and thank you again for joining us. Before we head out, I would like to encourage those who are here, if you feel called to donate, we have a box at the end of the hall. And we also have some free literature in the back as well, if you're interested to pick some up. Again, thank you so much, and we hope to see you tomorrow.